So this is another episode of the JoshCast. I apologize for not doing it sooner for the two of you who listen to the first 30 seconds and go, I get the idea. So here's the situation. I recorded a 14-minute podcast, or at least I thought I did, and then I looked down and it wasn't recording at all. So this is an attempt. This is a second draft, and I'm worried that the spontaneity that I got in the first draft won't be here for the second draft. So already you are inheriting a failure here. That's just all there is to it. But you know what? You're going to have to accept that. I'm going to have to accept that. We're all going to have to accept that. But basically, I found out that my urine flow is not what it should be, according to a chart, I guess. And so tomorrow I'm going to go in, and they're going to jam a camera up my urethra. There's a clinical name for this. I think it's called cystoscopy, Christoscopy, oh shitscopy, one of those. I can't exactly remember the name, because and I think it's my brain refusing to remember the name, because when I try to even begin to think of the name, all I think about is a camera being jammed up my urethra. And I'm scared. And everyone around me is like, don't worry, it's a routine procedure. I'm sure they're not going to find anything. You don't have enormous symptoms, blah, blah, blah. And all I can think of is, yeah, it's easy for you to say, because it's not your penis. They were supposed to do this yesterday, by the way, but the surgery center flooded. So they had to reschedule. So you could say, the surgery center has a better flow than I do. I'm afraid it's something. I am afraid it is something serious, that they're going to find, oh my God, there's a giant thing in there, and we're going to have to go in and we're going to have to operate. We're going to have to rebuild the bladder. We're going to have to, just for good measure, you're going to need new kidneys, and we're going to put a giant metal rod. We're just going to throw a rod in there just for safety. Let's talk about the cost of this procedure, shall we? Let's really talk about that. The insurance company, insure, the word sure, we insure, we assure, all is well. The insurance company is going to cover 60% of the procedure. 60%. Thank you. Thank you so much. 60. So instead of going broke, I'm just going to go broke. It'll be more of a negative. It'll be less of a no. I'll be closer to zero, but still in the negative. So that what a wonderful healthcare system we have. We'll cover 60%. You know what? We normally would do 50%, but because we think you're cute, we'll throw in that extra 10. So you can imagine people who have no insurance, what they have to go through. How horrible that is. And then, I understand. Sometimes, I understand and I don't understand why this is so expensive. Because, to be perfectly honest with you, my penis is not that big. I mean, I could understand this kind of an expense if I had an Uber penis. But this is not, we're not dealing with a serious piece of real estate here. At best, this is a one-bedroom condo that we're talking about. So I'm on WebMD. Trying to diagnose myself. Maybe I can save some money. And that all I'm doing is flipping out over what this could possibly be. What could cause a decreased flow in the urine stream? And one of the things I read about is the something called a urethral stricture, a narrowing of the urethra caused by scar tissue. I don't understand how my urethra has scar tissue. My urethra was not drafted for the war in Vietnam. My urethra did not serve with distinction in either of the Iraq wars. My urethra did not work as a beat cop in Los Angeles for 15 years. Where is this scar tissue coming from? And if you're going to say, oh, it's because you masturbate too hard, you might be right. That could be where it's coming from. So I got to deal with that tomorrow. I have to, it is, of course, on the other side of the hill. So I'm going to have to get a lift, and I'm going to have to give the lift the address. And what do I tell the lift driver? I mean, I'm going to be honest with the lift driver. They're jamming a camera up my urethra. That's where we're headed right now. So step on it. Put the pedal to the metal. My dick's got a date with destiny. Man, I don't know what to where to even begin. Then I have a friend who told me that they. Well, I think they're not a friend yet. I think we're going to be friends. We haven't known each other that long, so I think we're still in the acquaintance. I don't know at what point it becomes a friend, because normally I would say they're a friend when I start talking in depth about having a camera jammed at my urethra. But I'm talking about that to complete strangers, so you could say everyone's my friend. But she said that she's going to an MRI for cash place. I didn't even know this existed. You go, get an MRI, you pay for it, they give you a disc, and then you got to go find someone who can read it. And I think that I'm wondering if that's the future of healthcare. It's going to become like ride sharing, like Uber and Lyft, and just this a la carte thing, where we're kind of on our own to figure out what's wrong, and then we go to the one doctor who also happens to be driving us to the Getty. I think we should combine healthcare with rideshare in Los Angeles. Because if it's going to take me an hour to get to Long Beach anyway, a truck pulls up, I get in, they do my MRI, maybe a colonoscopy, maybe they upsell me on it. And then by the time I'm in Long Beach, I know when I'm going to die. It's beautiful, this concept I have. What else is happening? Well, okay. So what I'm about to do was something I came up with the first time I recorded this, which felt fun and organic in the moment. And now I'm afraid, because I'm rehashing it, it's not going to be fun and organic. But as I was recording this podcast the first time and failing to record the podcast the first time, I drove by a store that had one of the letters was broken. It was Ralph's. So the R was broken, so it was Alf's. And I just remarked, I always like it when that happens. I mean, I know it's hard for the merchant, but it's fun to just see a different name now. Oh, it's Alf's. It was Ralph's, but now it's Alf's. That's something that brings me a momentary blip of joy in an otherwise horrendous ocean of pain and suffering and torture that is life. And then I was thinking it must be really hard for, some businesses where you lose the letter and then the name that you're left with is a funny name, like, for instance, the Gapenis family. Because as soon as that G was destroyed, man, the jokes just never stopped. You remember the Gapenises, don't you? I do remember the Gapenises. They were really nice. Bernie and Sandra Gapenis. And they had that store. Yeah, it was a sausage store. They sold sausages, and then one day the G broke, and they became the joke, and they couldn't handle the jokes anymore. So they closed the store. It was really sad. It was really sad that people in this town can't understand how hurtful words can be. And and that was a really nice sign. The Gapenises, they could have gone to Europe, but instead they chose to buy a really nice sign, a neon Gapenis sign. And the day that G went out, it was just no one would let up on them. Everyone was making jokes. And, they had no choice. I mean, they couldn't carry on. So they closed Gapenises. I think there's an adult store there now. They just kept the sign, and they won. The adult store that's there now, they're the winners. The Gapenises, though, sucks to be them. It really does. All right, that's good enough.